VOD review has helped countless players go from playing in the sand to absolutely cooking like Gordon Ramsay on a Saturday afternoon. Through the video, I'm going to provide several free resources, but the one at the end could help you the most. I'm going to show you how to put 4 crucial steps into practice to gain the fastest possible results, so make sure that you don't miss a step, otherwise it can make improving that much slower. Pro players such as MKLeo and DeBuzz VOD review their gameplay all the time, so it's crucial that you develop the same good habits so that you can improve as fast as possible. Future Alex coming in because I turned into a donut and forgot to mention a very important step, which I'll call step 0. You want to make sure to write everything, and I mean everything, down on a doc or piece of paper. It is very important to take notes on yourself. Gordon Ramsay always has a pencil behind his ear, and when asked about it, he stated, "I'm always taking notes." There wasn't much to step 0, but I made step 1 extremely easy. First things first, you need to know what you're looking for when you're VOD reviewing. This brings me to step number 1 of VOD review. I'm going to make sure this is as easy as possible by giving 3 questions you should always ask yourself. If you're like Pitt and you can't read, it might be hard to read back on this, but feel free to screenshot the visual displayed. The first 2 questions are, why did you get hit and how did you take or lose a stock? Understanding these factors can drastically help in positioning and good decision making while in a match. Knowing how well you're positioned can help you live longer, take stocks faster, and to better engage your opponent. The last question ties perfectly into the other 2, and that is to ask yourself, what should you have done differently? Knowing what you need to do differently is a lot easier than actually doing it. Take the answers from the first 2 questions and formulate a response to this one. Everyone knows that King K. Rool camps on side stage, shielding, trying to get a back throw. Instead of going for the obvious Nair shenanigan, what they should do differently is bait out an option to then get the opponent off stage. These questions will help you identify some key points in your VODs to improve on, but how can you easily grasp these smaller pieces that good players will pick you apart for? I'll tell you the easiest way to do this in step number 2. All players make bad decisions at some point or another while playing. What separates a good player is the capability to identify these mistakes and fast. This brings me to step number 2, which is to identify your bad habits. Most players struggle to figure out what their bad habits are, but I'm going to share some advice to make it painfully obvious for absolutely anyone. I have divided up what you should look for in 4 easy categories so you can watch your VODs without feeling like an idiot sandwich. The first thing you should look at is your approach to your opponent. Make sure to always mix up these approaches and never get used to the same option, otherwise you will get punished. Smash has so many options you can choose, so make sure you cycle through all of them. I'll share my golden rule for looking and breaking these habits after this next important category. You want to keep in mind what options you are throwing out at your opponent. You mixed up the approach, but now you're mashing on your opponent's shield. Constantly fishing for the same move makes it extremely easy to bait out an option and punish hard. I've played Joker for 2 to 3 years. I know how good fair 1 drag downs are, but it's not always the right option. My golden rule will help you identify these bad habits, as well as keeping yourself from creating them. The golden rule is to pick an option once, maybe a second time, but rarely ever a third time. If you're a lower skill level, then maybe switching it up isn't always the best option, because changing up a punish to an opponent who's always doing a neutral getup would be an extremely poor decision. Now that you all know the golden rule, let's get into arguably the 2 harder categories to look at, but once you master each of them, you should notice instant improvement to both play and mastery. You should always keep a keen eye on your positioning. I encountered a youngling player the other day who absolutely loved to wave bounce on the platforms. My first stock, he'd do it all the time while resetting back in the neutral. It didn't take very long to start anticipating his pass. While his positioning was good in the beginning, it didn't uphold its value for the rest of the game. This brings me to my main point for positioning. Position yourself in a favorable position so that the odds of you getting a better opportunity is just higher. Secondly, make sure you have center stage and try to understand why you or your opponent controls that center stage more often. Why did A just cross the road? Because you didn't cook. Bad Gordon Ramsay joke, but I thought it was kind of funny. The last category, and probably easiest to spot, but hardest habit to break, is the ledge and recovery options. Sorry, little Mac mains, but there isn't a whole lot you can do to switch your recovery up. A good player to demonstrate how to mix up your recovery is Spargo. Cloud is often shunned for having a poor recovery, yet Spargo has really shown the masses how good it can be. I think Spargo holds a torch for the best in this regard. Make sure to see how you can mix up these recovery options. Don't make a bad habit of choosing a linear approach though, which is crucial for survival surviving for your stocks longer. As for your options for getting up at the ledge, you should ensure you aren't picking the same option every time. Even if you don't get punished at first, you could easily be conditioned to do the same thing every time. Most importantly, you should look at the tempo you take to get up. Putting this simply, make sure you change the timing of your get up, otherwise your opponent has a 50-50 shot of reading you. That concludes the second step to our VOD review process. Now we can talk about the uplifting section. We've critiqued ourselves this entire process, so now you can give yourself a pat on the back because we're going to look at what you did well. Our third step of VOD review, we are going to, drumroll please, you guessed it, identify what you did well that match. It may sound simple, but understanding what you did well in that match can boost both your morale and even show you how much you've really improved. Story time. I coach many younger students and they feel down about how often I walk around the map and tell them to stop swinging at the air. Not a single one of them plays Roy, so they don't really have an excuse. However, constantly pointing out flaws can really demote somebody, and this can halt their growth since they won't feel very motivated. This is why it's important to both understand what you're doing well to do it in the future, but most importantly, open your eyes up to your progress to keep you motivated. I kind of thought about pulling a cat in the hat and doing a musical number, but unfortunately, I feel like everyone would unsubscribe, so I'll spare you all today. Being proud of yourself isn't the only reason you should be looking at what you did well. You should also understand why it so happened to work. Keep note of the times you did well in bad situations so you can recognize from experience what your next several steps should be. It's very important to continuously build upon yourself because nobody can do that for you. This was actually a short section, and I'm sure step number 4 will be even shorter, unless future me changes that. Unfortunately, I keep track of things like how Olimar would keep track of his Pikmin. You name all the red Pikmin red because what's the point of keeping track of them? You know what's also red though? The subscribe button. It's free, unlike Pikmin 4. Make sure to put the bell on too, because unlike going to the movie theater to watch movies, you can watch my videos for free. Got a little carried away there. Let's just get back into number 4, shall we? What can you do differently now? This may sound simple to say, but these are the main notes you should be making. I've seen top level players make reminders in their phones to display on their home screens common bad habits they suffer from. I enjoy doing a little chant inside my head saying things like disengage horizontally, not vertically, over and over again. This is an efficient method for me to take because that's just what I found to work. The best way to learn is simple by utilizing repetition. So make sure to find your own way to constantly remind yourself to change these habits or to do something differently. Going back on the story I mentioned a second ago, my students are constantly told by me to stop swinging at the air. I found by constantly telling them to stop swinging at a ghost, they figure out how to adapt much sooner than not. They also really want me to shut up because they absolutely hate when I keep saying it. The whole point of me bringing this story up again is to put emphasis on how important repetition is. Repeatedly trying to improve with these 4 steps will show instant results and will continuously do so for as long as you use them. Using repetition to look back at yourself and your notes will truly change the way you play overnight. To summarize step number 4 one last time, because I feel like despite it being self-explanatory, but to new players it might not be, you want to figure out what you could be doing differently in that situation. Instead of approaching, you might want to bait out an option or just dance in and out of range. Let's finally wrap up this video, and I'll tell you a free resource you can take advantage of before you go. I hope you all learned something new from the video, or at least have a different perspective on the importance of VOD review. For those who struggle or just want me to check out their games, I invite you to join the Discord server down in the description. I will be VOD reviewing a bunch of games here soon for everyone, so I can give back to the community that has decided to give me their time and support. Once again, I'll prompt you to subscribe to the channel and join a rapidly growing server of like-minded individuals who are all on their own journey to improve and smash in one way or another. Since you've made it this far in the video, I assume you like my content in one way or another. Right here's a video that YouTube thinks you'd enjoy, so go give it a watch. I'll see you there.